Speeches in Parliament today, everyone waxing eloquent about the significance of the goods and services tax. On social media, you would have seen a lot of commentary about how this is the most significant legislation since liberalization, but nobody's really bothered sitting down with experts, breaking it down sector by sector and explaining to people what the real impact of the goods and services tax on your life is. If the concept of one nation, one tax is being brought in, how does this change your life and mine? My colleague Devina Gupta worked over 1 week to put together this special story.
Debalina and her friends love to eat out, but it already cost them a pretty penny. This is how their bill looks like now. A separate service charge excluded. At present, you shell out 18.5% on taxes. The GST will likely increase your bill by 1.5%. That's because states will be empowered to fix and increase service taxes, unlike the standard central rates applying currently. So this hike combined with the service charge will likely make eating out more expensive for you.
I don't know how the GST bill is going to be working out, whether this will be extra taxes levied or how it is going to be. I hope the GST bill is nothing, it brings out an uniformity in the taxes which is levied.
Restaurateur Adar Shetty is therefore guarded.
You have different taxes which today is levied upon the customer. So you have these different kinds of breakups which are there, which are definitely, we have no choice in that. We have no idea what percentage it's going to come. But if you ask me, we are very comfortable with the 15 to 20% in between, anything in between 15 to 20.
Once the GST is in, Debalina and her friends may also have to pay it through the nose. For their internet chats and phone calls, that's again because of possible increase in service tax. Experts fear an increase up from 15% to 18% in the GST on your phone bills may hurt the consumers.
I really don't think it will have any impact on the overall revenue stream. The impact will be on higher rates and consumers feeling the pinch of it. That will be where the...
I'm not very particularly concerned about the center because you already have a VAT platform. We already have a service tax platform. So at the center level, there will not be much issues, but certainly at the state level, there will be issues of implementation issues.
Small businesses stay out of the centre's GST net. It will be up to the states to decide on the taxes on establishments with a turnover of up to 1.5 crore rupees.
It will be a very positive signal to the global markets. We could get into double-digit growth, especially if the monsoon also is good, as is expected. So overall, it will be extremely positive for our country.
This means states will possibly keep the essential service rates under their control by imposing lower taxes on small businesses. In that scenario, consumer accessing them will pay less. Now the flyers. Courtesy center-state negotiations, air travel does not become expensive for the common man.
The overall sense is that we do need to make air travel as affordable as possible.
Already, petroleum, diesel and aviation turbine fuel have been kept out of the GST ambit. With another welcome stimulus, the flyer-friendly new aviation policy, chances are air travel will attract more customers with competitive pricing. Shibashish Das is an employee of a private company, and he's eagerly waiting for the GST to make his shopping easier. The GST is also likely to spell better news for other products. Experts say goods will eventually become less expensive after the system is adopted, as it will streamline with other taxes.
GST will definitely help the customers, the consumers. So, थोड़ा सा हम लोग भी खुला घूम पाएंगे without taxation. So that is the thing. It will help GST definitely.
So what does it mean for the Aam Aadmi, for the common consumers on the ground when GST is implemented? For starters, the states would be empowered to fix the tax rate, which means that service taxes may just go up. And it also means that eating out may just become a little more expensive. However, what is going to reflect on the restaurant bills is that they are going to look a little uncluttered.
35-year-old Vikas wanted to buy a premium LED TV, and he's now postponed his plan till the GST is implemented.
मैं यहाँ पे टीवी देखने के लिए आया था। नहीं टीवी ले रहा हूँ, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट का कुछ GST करके कुछ आ रहा है, तो उसके वजह से कुछ प्राइस में कम होता रहेगा, तो उसके बाद मैं ले लूँगा।
LED TVs are set to get cheaper as the duties get subsumed into a single tax slab. Experts say that's going to create a substantial drop in prices.
The most important taxes that we pay, which is the CVT, countervailing duties, and VAT, it comes up to 26 to 28% on any television that we sell. We're hoping with GST it should go down to 20% so that we can pass on that benefit to the customer.
The cost of the television would definitely come down. If it is coming around 20%, then it should come down. If it goes beyond 20%, or maybe around 25%, then it won't make any big difference for the importers and for those companies who are selling these high-tech televisions. So definitely from a big importers, from a big traders, from a big industrialist, all are waiting for the uniform GST, and that should be in the range of between 15 to 20% or at the most 20%.
Even your passenger cars will be under the GST net, and that's expected to bring cheers to the consumers. The GST is going to subsume various other taxes, so if you pay 25% in levies in your new car now under the GST regime, the tax bill for your next vehicle is likely to come down to 18%. Again, a substantial difference.
Yes, there is the hope that we can basically also reduce the prices of our vehicles, because hopefully the GST will have a positive effect on the accumulated pricing.
This young couple from Bengaluru shops with jewellery. For them, a unified tax system would mean paying cheaper for the imported jewellery, but paying more for jewellery manufactured in India.
Taxes will definitely come down, and I will not be able to pay different taxes for different items, right? So automatically the tax will come down, and as a final customer, I am going to get benefited, and I will always support that.
With the cabinet abolishing 1% interstate tax, jewelers hope to attract more buyers to their stores. Custom duties are what will pinch you most when you buy jewelry. The GST is expected to slash taxes on your new gold necklace quite a bit, and your bill may come down.
People saying that if the taxation is extremely high, it could maybe hamper their buying spree. But at the same time, what they're also excited about is that having a unified taxation across the country, they will not feel cheated.
In the nut, the GST will replace a monstrous tangle of state and central taxes. For consumers, it's a mixed bag. Services may become dearer if states choose to escalate the service taxes under the GST, but it's expected to boost demand for products as they increasingly become more affordable. Bureau Report, India Today.
Over the past few years, the goods and services tax has in some senses become a litmus test for India's commitment to push the reforms process further. You heard Adi Godrej there say that the overall gross domestic product, the GDP, could go up by about 2%. So this is why the GST is so significant from an international perspective, because all big fund managers, all big investors were waiting for this one significant legislation to see whether or not India and the Modi government were actually keen on turning their talk into action. Here's a report.
India's biggest tax reform in decades. A litmus test of the Modi government's pro-growth credentials. Global investors are hoping to see the new GST is adopted soonest. India recently improved its rating in ease of doing business. It now ranks 130, up by 12 slots, but still below China, which is at 84. But the GST is expected to boost India's GDP by around 2%, and the neighboring Dragon 2, with its annual business of $16 billion with India, is hoping to benefit from it.
For Chinese investors, like any foreign investors, India's complicated tax codes have been often cited as one of the biggest barriers and obstacles for investing. And the hope in China now is that the GST could remove what has historically been one of the biggest obstacles for investment. And if this is to make India a more competitive foreign investment destination, in China that is being seen not as a threat but as an opportunity. Chinese companies, especially in manufacturing and investment, have been suffering with overcapacity at home. And for them, as they look to invest overseas, the sense is that India could soon become top of the list.
The GST will be great positive news for not only Chinese investors but also for other foreign investors. It will accelerate the foreign investment in any way because what I mentioned before, with lower tax cost and easier environment of doing business, I do believe we can expect more FDI flow from China to India.
So the GST is tipped to be a new magnet for foreign investment. After Brexit, the bright spot could be India for European businesses.
All eyes are set on the GST. For now is the time for action. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sold brand India to the world very well. The hope that it brings, the potential that it has, the big market and the demand that it gives to the world and presents to the world. But the biggest stumbling block for investors and businesses here has always been the ease of doing business with India, or rather the lack of it. GST is one such deliverable in the long to-do list of reforms for India, which once implemented will make it a more tempting business and investment destination.
Investors are very excited and are yield hungry. You're looking at the Western world where you are in negative interest rate territory, and there you have a country with good economic fundamentals delivering north of 8% growth.
For foreign investors, a departure from a messy tax system is a welcome sign. If an all-embracing GST is adopted across India, consumers can look forward to more brands entering the market, which will then translate into greater choice and more competitive pricing. Bureau Report, India Today.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley is delighted. He's speaking live at this time. I want to go across right outside Parliament, listen to the Finance Minister.
At the time of voting, have voted in favour of the bill. And as the debate progressed, it was clear that amongst political parties, there was a very large consensus. Except one political party, everybody else has supported this bill. Everybody has voted in favour of the bill. And almost every state government is on board in order to implement one of the most important taxation reforms in India itself. The fact that it has been passed and passed unanimously, all regional parties and national parties have actively supported it. The proceedings have culminated to demonstrate to the world that this is a great day both for Indian democracy and Indian federalism. In fact, Indian democracy and Indian federalism are at their very best in as much as all national political parties and regional parties, all state governments have come together to usher a major taxation reform. On behalf of the government, I express my deep sense of gratitude to all the political parties which have actively participated in this discussion and supported this reform. The government's approach also was to build a larger consensus, which we succeeded in doing. We now propose to take some of the additions and amendments which have been made to the bill as approved by the Lok Sabha back to the Lok Sabha very soon, subject to the directions of the Speaker, so that the Lok Sabha also can approve the bill and then it can go to the states for ratification. Once the GST is implemented, it will bring basic changes as far as the Indian tax structure is concerned. It will convert India into one unified market with one unified tax in the country. It will improve the base of taxation. It will make evasion extremely difficult. And I think the centre and the state governments in future will have to work together in order to make this a great success. Overall, I think it was an excellent debate in which almost every member has contributed to it. And as I just stated earlier, this is Indian democracy and federalism both at their very best. Thank you. आज ये महत्वपूर्ण अवसर है इस देश के लिए कि एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण टैक्सेशन रिफॉर्म कर व्यवस्था में सुधार संसद ने पारित किया है.
We still have those apprehensions, and it's purely in the hands of the finance minister. It is in his discretion whether he terms it as a money bill or a finance bill. There's nothing prohibiting him bringing it as a finance bill, and that's exactly what we expressed in the House, that there has been unanimity in this House in supporting this constitutional amendment, and we want to move forward in a constructive mode.
मैं इतना ही कहूँगी कि आर्थिक उत्थान के पथ पर हम सब प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी के नेतृत्व में अग्रसर हो गए थे. आज इस बिल के पारित होने से वो पथ हमारे लिए एक ऐसा गरिमामय पथ है जहां पर राष्ट्र का नागरिक भी सशक्त हो रहा है. आर्थिक क्रांति लाने की संभावना राष्ट्र भर में जो व्यक्त हुई थी, आज वो संभावना हमें यहाँ पर सीधा अपने सामने एक प्रामाणिक रूप में दिखाई दी. मैं बधाई दूंगी न सिर्फ माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व को, बल्कि माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी को भी, कि न सिर्फ इसका डोमेस्टिक इम्पैक्ट होगा, बल्कि साथ ही अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर एक उदासीनता का माहौल था कि हिंदुस्तान में क्या आर्थिक क्रांति आना संभवतः ये हम देख पाएंगे क्या नरेंद्र भाई के नेतृत्व में. आज इसका प्रमाण हमने सिर्फ न राष्ट्र को दिया बल्कि पूरे विश्व को.
देश के विकास के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा अहम कदम आज पार्लियामेंट ने उठाया है. हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी नरेंद्र मोदी जी जब से प्रधानमंत्री बने, उनकी लगातार एक कोशिश रही है कि देश की हर व्यवस्था में सुधार हो, टैक्सेशन स्ट्रक्चर बदले, और उसमें बदलने के समय भी राज्य सरकारें और केंद्र सरकार मिलकर उसमें काम करें. वो दोनों में मिलकर काम करेंगे तो मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि देश की परिवर्तन लाने में ज़्यादा समय नहीं बीतेगा. और जिस तरह से हमने आज की इसकी कोशिश की थी कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सभी के सभी जो लोगों के जो मत है उसमें परिवर्तन किया जाए, उनको उसमें साथ में लिया जाए, तो मानता हूँ सभी से सम्मति से ये विधेयक पास हुआ. मैं उन सभी को धन्यवाद देता हूँ.
Engaging with different political parties, with the regional parties, with the national parties, and we went to the house of the Congress president also to seek her support. The Prime Minister invited her to his house also, and now umpteen number of times Finance Minister held discussion with all the people, and at the end he made a brilliant presentation in the house, and the entire house finally has agreed with the government, and we are very happy that the historic bill, which is a revolutionary taxation reform, has been approved by the house.
But Congress in the house had some apprehension as far as finance and money bill is concerned. What do you have to say to them?
See, they should have shown more grace by not raising such issues now. What is a money bill, what is not a money bill is already known, well defined earlier. And they have more experience also, as they dealt with so many budgets and so many bills also. That has been said by the finance minister. Secondly, today the issue is not the forthcoming bill. Today is the constitutional amendment.
Of political reactions there, the BJP of course delighted that this has gone through under Prime Minister Modi's watch. But remember, there is a long hurdle ahead. Now I want to focus on that for a moment. Joining us on the newsroom now is Gurcharan Das, former Chief Executive of Procter & Gamble. Also with us is Sanjay Jha from the Congress, Siddharth Nath Singh from the BJP. I want to go across to Siddharth first as I pull out these images of Arun Jaitley cutting a cake in his chamber. So here are images. He's flanked by Piyush Goyal and he's cutting a cake in his chamber after the GST bill was passed. And GVL Narasimha Rao is joining us. GVL, so first and foremost, congratulations on being able to cross the Rajya Sabha hurdle. This is significant because we've been receiving multiple calls nationwide, people wanting to know what's happening. So you've sent out a big message. But the equally important next question is, do you have a definite rollout timeline? Because you've got only one hurdle passed now. There's the GST Council to deal with. You've got to send the bill back to the Rajya Sabha, to the Lok Sabha. Can you take our viewers through the timeline from here on?
So Rahul, I think the Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, has already stated over the past 2 days that all the preparatory work that needs to be done to put GST in place, the administrative arrangements, the kind of infrastructure backbone that is required, IT infrastructure backbone, all that is already underway, and a lot of progress has been made in those areas. And certainly the government is looking forward to having this implemented from FY17, which is from April next year. I think today is a historic day, and this government has succeeded in bringing about this major reform. I think it has been done in also with the support of all political parties, and the message goes out to the whole world today that India has set out itself on major reform, tax reform, and
Sanjay Jha, Venkaiah Naidu,
further momentum.
Modi minister accusing the Congress of lack of grace. You went ahead in the Rajya Sabha, voted for the GST. Towards the end, you started quibbling about whether this will be a money bill or not. At a time when such a significant legislation has been passed, would it not have been better possibly to demonstrate more grace, Sanjay?
Rahul, I just heard Mr. Naidu's comment on your channel, and I thought, honestly, it was disappointing. It was very graceless coming from him, in fact. Let me tell you the truth. And I think the viewers need to know that it's a Congress party that laid the foundations of the GST bill. The architecture of the bill, the construct of the bill is a Congress party creation. Mr. Rao talked about right now about the IT infrastructure. Let me tell you that even before we demitted office, the entire software, the systems, the way the processes need to function have all been prepared and kept ready by the Congress party already 2 years ago. So end of day, the intent of the Congress party, that's what Mr. Chidambaram stated explicitly in Parliament today, was to support the GST bill. Now the issue that comes up, and this is the reason why we are disappointed that Mr. Jaitley actually did not make a firm commitment on the floor of the House. And that commitment was, if you believe in cooperative federalism, the Rajya Sabha, indirectly elected, is representing the states of India. And the states of India have a big role in the passing of the GST bill finally in the winter session. So by actually saying this is the most historic legislation post 1947, which perhaps it is, and then to say that we will not take the Rajya Sabha possibly into confidence for a debate or a discussion and a vote, tells you that the BJP is somewhere contradicting itself. So end of day, I think the Congress party stands vindicated today that on the issue of the 1% interstate tax, where the BJP refused to publicly acknowledge our contribution to making this bill stronger, was finally agreed to them in Parliament today. And
go across to Gurcharan Das, because we've got this political from the parties, which is what is expected. But Gurcharan Das, we don't know yet what the rates will be. So while this bill has been passed, everything now comes down to the GST Council. Can you give our viewers through what your sense of the timelines from here? Because at least 15 state assemblies have to ratify this. The bill has to come back to the Rajya. So there's a whole process that has to be gone through before GST actually comes into effect. And then there is the other political concern, which says that initially, before the GST stabilizes, there may be a bump in prices, and therefore with crucial elections in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Gujarat around the corner, and then subsequently Lok Sabha elections in 2019, can the Modi government risk rolling out GST and then possibly risking the ire of voters?
You know, you make some very good points. And let me just begin by saying that on this historic day, it's indeed a historic day, and the country, let's forget whether it's Congress or BJP, the country has won. And on this day, let us remember that Vijay Kelkar, in his report, was the person who triggered the GST. And this was at the time when Jaswant Singh was the finance minister, and he accepted this idea. And then, of course, that laid the foundation for all the things the Congress did, etc. Now, as to yes, there are a lot of hurdles ahead, but I think this today is showing the sort of commitment that the UP elections or all those are not going to derail this. And also, a lot of work has already been done with the states. So I personally am confident that it will go through the state legislatures. The central government has committed a revenue neutral regime for 5 years, that the states will be compensated for any loss in revenue. So you have a GST council, and that GST council will monitor what will be required. I personally actually am sympathetic to the Congress idea of capping a low rate. I mean 18%, when the world average is around 15 to 17%, 18% is a good rate, and I worry some states did not have the confidence in this, and that's why they were pushing for a higher rate. But
Chimara, is that a concern
I
you
don't
have?
agree that it should
The
be
fact that you've
put
got
into
big
the
elections round the corner,
amendment.
elections
But
which
there
will
is a way
shape
out.
what happens and how the BJP is perceived. Just before that, if the GST is rolled out, as you're saying, in April 2017, there will be, according to all experts, a temporary surge or temporary increase in prices. Are you concerned about the political backlash as a consequence of that boom in prices, or are you prepared to bash on regardless of political consequences?
No, Rahul, I think on the contrary, this will have a very salutary effect on the overall economic growth. And also, Finance Minister in his concluding remarks had stated very clearly, if you look at the basket of goods that comprise the consumer price index, I think 54% of the weight in the CPI is not going to be taxed under GST at all. So I don't think it will have a significant impact on the CPI. It may have a marginal impact, but that will be offset by lowering of the prices. So certainly it's not a big concern. But a growth, a 2 percentage points additional growth is something that this country needs very badly. And at a time when we are already topping the global charts in terms of our economic growth rate, adding another 2 percentage points could put us in a double-digit growth kind of a situation. We are already getting the maximum FDI inflows in the entire world, and that will only gain further momentum. So I see a lot of positive results coming out of the implementation of the GST, and implementation is going to take a few months and close to a year. So certainly we have the time to really analyze all these factors and also possibly ensure that it doesn't really impact the common man. It's the joint concern of all the states and the center, and today's victory is actually a victory for the cooperative federalism, as Honorable Prime Minister has stated, and certainly we all have to deal with the common man.
Okay, stay with me for a moment because I want to pull out this third report that we put together on how GST impacts e-commerce. All of us now tend to order a lot online, and if you're ordering online, you would have been irritated on occasions when you try and purchase a certain product and it tells you you can't buy this product because it's too heavy, the octroi rules don't allow it. Snapdeal, Amazon, Flipchart are forever complaining about not being able to send products to different parts of the country because of different tax structures in different states, different weight categories, it's a real mess. The current tax structure, because there is no consistency, making e-commerce very difficult. But with GST coming in, there will be an even bigger boom in e-commerce because you've got one nation, one tax structure, you can order what you want, you'll have it delivered to your residence presto. Here's a report.
Sitting in a small town of Kerala, you order the latest Harry Potter book online. And there pops up a disappointing message. You try to get a swanky laptop from an e-tailer. The screen casts you down. Again. It's probably a maze of state taxes on freights that restrict the e-commerce market and not shortages. Cross-border taxes have virtually served as a trade barrier between buyers and sellers. But all this is expected to change when the country adopts the GST, a tax revolution.
We have been very eagerly waiting for the GST bill, and it's very positive for the e-commerce for most of the cases. So ultimately it will benefit in terms of simplicity.
The industry is tipped to grow to $36 billion in 2017 fiscal. The GST will help e-tailers reach out to a larger base of customers, as the system will do away with state-to-state entry taxes on cargo. Majority of e-commerce companies pay service tax for delivering goods from the sellers to the buyers. But many bypass it by offering free home deliveries. Some states have also implemented VAT on the goods sold online. E-commerce companies say that GST will likely touch 18% at least. So, you've been paying a VAT of 5%, for example, on a t-shirt you ordered online, just with no service tax charged by your e-tailer for a free home delivery. Post GST, your taxes on the same product may shoot up to 18%. And there's another flip side. Market experts fear the new system will usher in an accounting nightmare for e-commerce firms. They will be saddled with a massive compliance burden for tax collected at source.
Whole comments from industries is basically trying to address these three things, ease of compliance, certainty, and easy dispute resolution, or basically limited disputes.
The GST will be both a boon and a challenge for the nascent e-commerce sector. It surely promises smooth deliveries, but also fixes heavy accounting responsibilities on the online platforms. Bureau Report, India Today.
Interesting. Finally, e-commerce will see companies deliver products across the country without having to worry about state regulations. I want final words from all our guests, starting with Gurcharan Das, on the impact possibly on the markets tomorrow morning. There's been so much talk about the build-up. Do you see stock markets being excited about the fact that the GST is finally through at least this very crucial hurdle, or will there be a bit of an anti-climax in your view, sir?
Yeah. Well, they have to be. I mean, they would be crazy not to recognize the historic moment that we are in today. This is certainly one of the biggest reforms that the country has done. And so it doesn't matter whether it's done by BJP or Congress. The reality is, one, it's shown cooperation in the country. We have created one market finally in India. And yes, there are hurdles ahead, but I personally think those are hurdles that can be crossed. And
this is a googly of
your
sorts.
last report on e-commerce.
But okay, let Mr. Das finish. Please go ahead, Gurcharan, sir.
Yeah. No, I just said that, frankly, e-commerce will be a very big beneficiary of this. There are some doubters there, but they are wrong.
Okay, Sanjay, is there a tinge of regret maybe in the Congress that, you had Chief Minister of Gujarat at that time, Narendra Modi, oppose it? Now he's pushing for the GST. Is there a sense deep within, which may not be voiced on TV, that if the BJP had cooperated, like you've cooperated finally with the BJP, then maybe history would remember Manmohan Singh and Chidambaram as the team that got the GST through, which won't be the case finally?
Well, Rahul, I'll voice it on TV on behalf of my party. I think we have cried horse for such a long time that, this bill could have become a real economic reality possibly 5-6 years ago if we didn't have Mr. Narendra Modi himself as the Chief Minister of Gujarat opposing it for reasons that were far from convincing. But having said that, the truth is that the GST bill was always meant to be transparent, improve and make the tax system more efficient, improve collections, and remove corruption and red tape and bureaucracy from the way we function. But the critical point that I want to mention here, this is fundamental to the discussion, the Congress party believes that the ordinary man, the ordinary consumer, needs protection against a service tax which can actually, if it's not controlled, is regressive, is an indirect tax can become a huge burden without his knowledge. And like this government has done through Swachh Bharat cess and Krishi Kalyan cess, and repeatedly raising, the excise duty rates on petroleum products. When international price of oil has crashed, you have had the Indian government
final words from GVL Narasimha Rao. GVL,
so these are challenges.
There is a sense of regret in the Congress party, Sanjay voicing it. But there's an even greater sense of regret amongst people who watch the India story, that if your party had not opposed the GST when you did in the manner in which you did, by now the GST would have rolled out, and this 2% bump that everyone talks about, we would have already been benefiting from that bump instead of talking about it in the distant future.
No, Rahul, I think it didn't succeed at that time because they didn't have the right proposals. And the Congress and the government at the center lack the credibility and the conviction with the state governments. And today, Prime Minister Modi has succeeded in bringing states on board, and we have devolved more funds to the states, and states have a greater sense of say in the entire affairs of the GST. And the success is largely because of the politics of Prime Minister Mr. Modi, and good economics have certainly prevailed because we have pursued good politics.
Well, history will remember that it was the team of Arun Jaitley and Prime Minister Modi who got this through. That is a regret the Congress will have to live with. But the fact is, this is just one significant hurdle. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. The devil, as always, in any tax proposal is in the detail, and the detail is what we don't have. That will emerge from the GST Council. There again, the states and the centre need to collaborate, cooperate. Otherwise, this could be delayed even more. Gurcharan Das, for your very incisive comments. Thank you very much. Thanks also to Sanjay Jha and GVL Narasimha Rao for joining us in the newsroom tonight. Before we move any further, let me take you through some of the other big news headlines that have made it to the newsroom this evening. The Congress party in Delhi The Congress party in Delhi staged a unique protest against potholes in the capital as part of the Jago Ya Bhago campaign. The party displayed a fake crocodile and a shark in a pothole on the outer ring road. A shocking video from Tamil Nadu of an infant being fed alcohol has surfaced in social media. The 2.5-minute video clip shows a man placing a bottle of beer and another liquor bottle in front of the infant. He later opens the bottle and makes the child drink. Women and Child Development Ministry has ordered a probe. Another Rio-bound Indian athlete has been tested positive for doping after Narsingh and Inderjeet. 200-meter sprinter Dharamveer Singh is now caught in the doping net. Rajnikant's Twitter account that was hacked yesterday has now been retrieved. The actor's daughter tweeted saying that Rajnikant's handle has been restored. However, no formal police complaint has been filed about this hacking. This is where we're wrapping up the newsroom tonight. We end with It's Gone Viral, and our picture tonight is an image that's taken the internet by storm. Milan Soman is the long-distance marathon man. Today he was accompanied by his mother wearing a sari, running barefoot. He was running from Ahmedabad to Mumbai. His 76-year-old mother, Usha Soman, there she is in those images, joining her son on the last leg of this marathon. She's 7 years old, she's wearing a sari, she's running barefoot. Think about that, and that's got viral tonight. This is where we end the newsroom tonight. We look forward to seeing you 10 p.m. tomorrow evening with another power-packed edition of the newsroom. Till then, from all of us here in the India Today newsroom, goodbye, good night.